Hello, everyone. My name is Mike Roberts. I am a teacher, instructional coach, and author based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. And if you are like me, 2020 has been the craziest school year you've ever taught in your career. So I think too often as teachers, we go and go and go and go, and then we wait for fall break, and then we take a couple days to kind of regroup and refill our tanks, and then we go and go and go and go, and then we run out of gas and we refill at winter break, and then we go and go and spring break and summer break. The purpose of this presentation, and this is one I call 50 self-care tips for teachers, is rather than waiting until those tanks get completely empty before we refill, find little things you can do daily that are going to help you stay on top of it. And that way, you're not running on fumes by the end. You're still plugging along, and you do still benefit from those bigger breaks, but you're not waiting for them and struggling to get to them because you've done these little things that just going to help you manage your time a little bit better and put you in the right mindset for those day-to-day experiences you have. So I've broken these down into 6 different categories. There are some exercise examples I give you. There are some physical and mental health ideas. There's all about splurging, because every now and then you got to do what you got to do. There's about cutting back without impacting your classroom. There's about self-improvement. And then there's a whole bunch of just little activities that I'm going to be sharing with you. So that is the plan for this little session here. I'm going to be sharing my screen here in a second, but all slides are going to be available to you as is a brief handout that I'll write up as well. And all that information, I will share it here in a second, will be available to you, and you can get all that right there for you. Let me blow this up a little bit in present mode, and we'll start rocking and rolling. So number one, once we get to it, so there's all my contact info. Again, the slides will be available there if you want to pause it or whatever you need to do. And then the handout is going to be available right there. And my contact information, you can reach out to me about anything you want, even if it's not related to this. I'm happy to share any resources I have with you, but we'll get talking more about that at the end. So I just gave you the basic rundown there. Let's jump on in. Look, there's all kinds of research out there that talks about the benefit that comes with exercise. And there's, the brain research. It says Jim Quick is a brain researcher, and he talks about how when the body moves, the brain grooves. And so I'm a big fan of trying to incorporate more exercise as a way to relieve some of the stress in your daily life. And I'm not talking it has to be super vigorous stuff, because you could go for a nightly walk. Every night after you get home from school, just go for a little 20-minute walk around your neighborhood and just, kind of debrief and use this as a little transition from going from work brain to home brain. If you're a little more into the rigorous stuff, you can go for a run and get that sweat on, and again, sweat out the stress that you had. If you want to bulk up, you can be lifting some weights. You could be doing something like going for a hike. The hikes are great because you get out in nature, and you get again, for a lot of us, you can go to a park and you're surrounded by trees and things like that versus being inside in the city. This is not my thing, but yoga. Yoga has all kinds of benefits with the stretching and the breathing and all that kind of stuff. The next one is very much my thing, doing yard work. I absolutely love doing yard work. It's kind of my time to just, go out there and dig in the dirt and mow the lawn and just kind of put everything else aside. You can also go for a bike ride. This is a great one if you have, kids and, family members. You can all just say, hey, we're going on a bike ride, and just go out. And again, it's just a nice little transition activity from the daily grind at school to now trying to refocus and rebalance a little bit at home. Simply stretching. I have a foam roller. I'm a runner, and I have a foam roller, and I will stretch on that thing a couple times a week, and it hurts so good. Oh, it's so painful. But again, at the end of it, it kind of just clears the mind, and I don't know, it just, as I'm stretching on that and rolling out, it's like all my stress and for lack of a better word, being overwhelmed and just angry and whatever else I got going just kind of rolls on out as I roll on the old stretcher. And then again, if you're a basketball fan, go shoot some hoops. There's lots of parks around, lots of schools around. Just pick up a ball, go shoot some hoop. But I highly recommend exercise as a great little transition. It makes you feel good. It frees up your brain a little bit. You get the blood pumping. You're sweating it out a little bit. These are all things that you can do without having to, yoga you could do on your own, but it's maybe a little easier. But usually most of these you can do at home on your own time without costing you a lot of money. And again, just that little transition to fill up the tank. So, you know, you have that rough day at school, the tank's a little emptier. Take this opportunity to fill it up a little bit. Next on our list, we have, oops, why are we not going to the next? There we go. Uh-oh, I splurged too fast. Your physical and mental health. So again, there's tons of research here, and I got a little graph over here, and you know, whatever. I just kind of pulled that up, but it's very much true. When I'm more stressed out, I am less productive. And when I'm more stressed out, I am more apt to snap at people and not give people a second chance and not give them my full attention. And our students deserve your full attention, 100%. And there are those times where you're going to be struggling with that. So here are a few things that might help you kind of with that physical and mental health. Number one, if at all possible, go to bed at a decent hour. 8 hours is what we're looking for, people. I know, I hear you, I got you. Do your best. But if nothing else, try at least 1 or 2 times a week. Set that bedtime at 9 o'clock and really try to stick to it, because to give your full attention, you got to be fully there mentally. You can't be kind of in that 5-hour fog is what I call it when you don't get enough sleep. So try to go to bed at a decent hour. Number 2, meditate. Look, I'm not saying you have to go out and get some program. I'm saying spend some time sitting by yourself, shutting your eyes, breathing in, breathing out. A good 10 minutes of that will mellow you right out. And it does. It's just about clearing your mind, making you feel a little more at peace with what's going on in your life. Number 3, listen to a podcast. Some of my best ideas and you know, some of my greatest influences have come from listening to podcasts where you hear someone say something and you think, well, how can I apply that to my classroom? Or how can I apply that to my life? And so podcasts are a real easy one. And for a lot of these, you can double dip. I mean, listen to a podcast as you're out on a walk. And so you're getting that exercise and getting that you know, mental health to kind of help you along. Taking a hot bath or a shower. I am always amazed at how much a simple 10-minute shower can do. You just go in, you just let the hot water. I always say I like to wash the school off me. So you wash the junior high funk off you, and you just feel it leave, and then you're ready to go face, you know, the rest of your evening. Listen to your favorite songs. This is something you can do as you're driving to work. This is something you can do in school. You know, if you got that free period, just put on some tunes. And I'm not talking those sappy songs that weighed you down in college about, you know, that person who broke up with you and all that stuff. I'm talking those cheesy songs from the 1980s that get your feet moving. Those are the songs you want to be listening to. Those little things that are just going to lift you up, even if it's just for a few minutes. You got to do those type of things. Next, a crossword puzzle. All kinds of research again with what crossword puzzles help you do, and be thinking about that and make your brain think in a different way. And again, all of these tips and strategies are to get you looking at things differently than, hey, I'm at school. Because if you constantly are thinking about school, you're never getting that break. And that's where the burnout happens. And that's where the you know, teachers leaving the field, all that stuff. And that's what we're trying to avoid here. A, smile and laugh more in class. I don't care what grade you teach, your students are funny. And too often we are so focused on, well, we got to get through this lesson or we got to get through this unit, that we kind of glance over those funny things that our students do. So I would encourage you to laugh more and smile more as often as you can in class. Another one I'm a big fan of, and this one does obviously tie into school a little bit, but send emails home as often as you can, or a phone call about the good things your students do. I try to do this every day, at least one per day, where you just fire off a nice email home. It's a great way to end the school day, because a lot of times the school days are hard. They are, whether it's during a pandemic or not, and we take that home with us. And we're driving home, it's a heavy load, and then we're telling everybody about it. I love sending the positive email or making the positive phone call home, because it ends the day on a positive note. Because there are lots of things that we drag home with us, all the stuff, the negative stuff. But if you end on that positive note, it puts you in that positive mindset. Plus, it really helps set a good mood or a good tone, I should say, for the parents and the students that you're talking about as well. And then the last one, all kinds of research, and again, benefits to journaling. Just getting the ideas out is a good way to kind of release it. And so you just spend, 15 minutes or so jotting things down. Here's what happened in my day. Here's how I could improve. Here's what I want to work on. And again, it's kind of putting you in that mindset of releasing all that stress that we're dragging along. All right. Next, we are going to splurge. All right. Every now and then, hey, you got to pull the ripcord and you got to just let go a little bit. And so, number one, real simple, go for some ice cream. It's okay every now and then to just break out the old Ben and Jerry's and eat, just chow down on a little pint or whatever. It's okay. I'm not saying make that a habit, but every now and then you got to drown your sorrows in some good old ice cream. Next, and some of these are going to cost a little money, okay? Stay in a hotel for a night. After a long week, just, hey, I'm not going home. I'm going to go stay in a hotel. Now, this is really cool if you're, single or whatever, because you're removing yourself, or if you're, married and don't have kids. It's even cooler if you do have kids. So the extra element you got to tack on there is, hey, I got to get a babysitter for the night. But if you can do this, I'm not saying you have to go stay at some 5-star hotel. I'm not saying you have to leave the town you live in. I'm saying just removing yourself from your house kind of makes it feel like it's a special occasion, a big deal. And that's what all of these are trying to do, is just try to raise that level of excitement for life more than anything else. Something as simple as going out to eat with your friends reaps huge rewards. Again, you got to pick the right friends. You don't want to go with the Debbie Downers who are going to complain about life and all this stuff. You want to go with friends who are going to build you up and make you laugh and make you smile. So choose your friends wisely. Next one, again, costs a little money, but getting a massage. Go out, and again, a lot of these are great ones for weekends. Schedule something on Saturday morning before you go out and start running to errands. Just go get a massage, or Friday night even, or Friday afternoon, maybe even better, to knead out all of those stresses from the week. Order some takeout. Again, super simple. You have to eat, so why not order a little takeout from your favorite restaurant at the end of the week? And again, it's the little things, and sometimes, hey, I tell you what, sometimes some guacamole is all it takes to get me in a good mood. So order a little takeout. And then last one, little mani and pedi. Come on. I don't even need to explain that one to y'all, so we're good. All right, so next, you've splurged. Now we're going to work on cutting back a little bit. So cutting back means, and look at the little button. Uh-oh, my lights just went out. The little button right there, wouldn't that be rad if, like, you're teaching and you go into Target and you push the button and then someone would pop up and solve your problem? Unfortunately, we don't have that in teaching. So a couple things you can do. Number one, set aside some homework-free days. This means you're not assigning homework and you're not grading homework. Your students will appreciate it because they'll get a little less homework, but you will also have those days where you can kind of breathe a little bit and take that night off and maybe spend some time with friends and family and do some of these things without the guilt of, well, if I don't grade this homework now, I have to grade it later. And again, that just builds to that stress and builds to that anxiety that we're trying to avoid. So have email-free nights. So just like homework-free nights, email-free nights. And just decide, hey, after 6 o'clock, I am not checking that email. Because any email that comes after 6 o'clock usually isn't a good email. So 6 o'clock, that's your cutoff, boom. See if you can do that. Not all of us can do that. I struggle with this one. But see if you can do it. I'm not saying you have to do it every night, but see if you can piece together, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Excuse me. Next, learn to say no. And as teachers, this is hard because we do something and then we want to help people, so we do it again, and then we want to help someone else, so we help them as well. And there are times where our plates are full and you have to say, I really appreciate you reaching out, but I just can't right now. And you don't have to feel guilty about it. Okay, you gotta learn how to say no. And along those same lines, you gotta learn how to ask for help sometimes too. Because as teachers, we like to think we know how to do everything. And there are times it's okay to say, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me? And this includes with your students. There are times I've come to class and I've been off my game and I've said to my students, hey, I'm not feeling too well today. You got to help me out a little bit here, and they step up, but too often we're afraid to ask for help. So please ask for help. Cutting back can also be something as simple as grading things as a class. So by grading as a class, you are not only improving their understanding of it because you're talking about it as you go, but B, you are cutting back on the amount that you have to grade at home. And yes, there is a balance here because you are taking up some of your teaching time to be grading this, but you are getting that back because we just graded something in my class today that took about 15 minutes to grade it as a class that I'm not going to have to go home and grade, which saves me a whole lot more than 15 minutes. I can tell you that because yeah, and then we're reassessing and we're affirming the learning. Students have a chance to ask questions and clarify the learning. So it's a win-win to grade things as a class. Along those same lines, you can also cut back on assignments a lot of times. I think as teachers, sometimes we get in this routine of, well, everything I talk about, they have to have an assignment for. Sometimes talking about it solidifies the learning as much as you need to. You don't need to say, okay, we learned about this. Now I need you to do this worksheet to show me that you learned what we talked about. You can cut back on a lot of those assignments. So I would encourage you to really look at, hey, what are you assigning and what is the value that comes out of that? Because then if they do it, a lot of us as teachers think, well, if they did it, then I have to grade it. So this is kind of a trickle down thing. If you cut back on assignments, it also means you're cutting back on the amount of stuff you have to grade. These are what we're trying to do. I'm not saying you're getting rid of entire units here. I'm saying, are there places where maybe that assignment isn't as important as you think it is? And the last one on cutting back, let students self-assess. Rather than you always being in charge of, here's the grade I think you earned, let your students self-assess. If they do a project, hey, have them write you up a little something, submit it, and say, here's the grade I think I earned and why. And that way, you're just kind of confirming what they think most of the time. And I do a session on self-assessment, so if you have doubts, please watch that one as well. But you're not having to go through and go through the rubric and do all that. They're doing that, and you're just saying if you agree with it. And so self-assessment is a great way to cut back on things. Next, self-improvement. All right, little John Dewey quote right there. Look, read a book. And I don't care if it's an educational book. I'd probably recommend not being an educational book, but find a way to improve who you are and improve your outlook on the world through a nice little book. How about you watch a movie that fires you up? Okay, I love watching some of those, silly movies, like a Rocky movie. Dude, I don't know why Rocky movies always get me fired up about the underdog and working hard and all that stuff. And I'm ready to rock and roll after I, catch a good Rocky movie. So find a movie that fires you up. I'm a huge fan of keeping the notes that my students have written me previously, and you just keep it by your desk. And whenever you hit some rough patches in your day, pull it out and just start flipping through those notes. And the cool thing is, not only will it make you feel good from reading the words, but it will also remind you of the story behind it and that student and what they're doing and all that stuff. So a lot more, that one's about a lot more than simply reading the words. It's about all the memories that come back with it. I'm a huge YouTube fan, all kinds of good inspirational YouTube things out there. This can be about teaching or about any topic or just general inspiration is even out there. So if you just type in inspirational YouTube quotes, you'll find a whole bunch, or YouTube videos, you'll find a whole bunch. And the cool part is, once you find one that you like, YouTube says, here are more that you might like. And so be careful you don't go down the rabbit hole and spend like 4 hours, but that comes back to one we're going to talk about here in a second, screen time. But yeah, YouTube is a great reference for finding ways to inspire yourself. Next, listen to your breathing. I know this sounds weird, but if you sit in a quiet room, shut your eyes, and just breathe deep, 6 count in, deep 6 count out. Here we go. I'm telling you, you do that for 5 minutes and you are just like, woo, you're on a different planet because you are just so mellow. 5 minutes of deep breathing. It's just in with the good, out with the bad type stuff. And I know I used to not be into any of this breathing type stuff either until I tried it. And now every night before I go to bed, I can't sleep without taking some deep breaths now. And I sleep better and I go to sleep faster. So huge fan of the breathing exercises that are out there. Another thing I think we can do is avoid negative people. I have friends who are just constantly complaining and I really like them, but I know when I'm having a tough time, those are the people I need to avoid. And a lot of times you may have people like that in your school. And so if you're going down to the faculty lounge to eat some lunch and that person's there, it might be a good idea to eat somewhere else. Because in these times when we are running a little bit low, we need people who are going to push us up because it's easy for them to drag us down, and we don't want to get in that. So sometimes the best thing you can do is simply to avoid negative people. All right, so I was talking about YouTube videos and watching movies and things like that. Hey, cut out your screen time. This is where that exercise and getting outside and doing some other things. Look, we are spending a lot of time, more than ever, I would argue, with online teaching and things like that. I get the irony of me making a video for you as, yeah, I get it. Okay, joke's on me. Cut out screen time if you can. If you have an iPhone, they track the screen time, and it is scary how often or how long I spend sometimes when it pops up. And that's just my phone, let alone my computer and all that other stuff. So if you can cut out some screen time, huge fan. And self-improvement, write down your goals. And I'm a big fan of keeping little sticky notes, just by my desk and writing things down. And then when I'm done, I just dispose of a sticky note or a list and checking things off. There's something very satisfying about checking things off. With goals, I really like it because once I write it down, that means I'm serious. And that means it's there, and that's going to push me to accomplish that goal and achieve that goal. So I'm a big believer in writing down your goal, and not just write down the goal, write down the plan on how you're going to accomplish that. And be specific. Don't just say, I want to be a better teacher. How do you want to be better? I want to be a better teacher by making sure the assignments that I give are relevant to my students. I will do that. It's a lot like learning targets and all that stuff that we teachers love to talk about. But a goal without a plan is a wish. You got to have that plan of, here's my goal and here's how I'm going to accomplish it, and be as specific as you possibly can. All right, and the last thing are just some activities you can do. And again, I call this first one here, going for a walk during lunch, an activity, because I'm hoping you can go with someone within your school and just go and talk about how their day's going, how the year's going, how life's going. Try to avoid going down that, again, the negativity route. So just a quick little walk for 10 minutes around your school, get out in the sun, it builds you up. Cook dinner. That's what my picture right here is. A little hot dog. Don't tell me hot dogs aren't dinner. Okay, cooking dinner, whatever that means for you. If it's ramen, that's fine. If it's filet mignon, that's fine. But for a lot of people, just cooking is a very healthy way to kind of work out some things, and you just like the smells and the organization of it and all that kind of stuff. So cooking is a big one. Playing a video game, again, goes back to screen time. Be careful. But I think, if managed properly, video games are a great release of stress. It kind of removes you from your current environment, puts you in a different mindset. Just don't get, some of my students, they will tell you they stay up until like 2, 3 in the morning playing these video games, and that cuts into sleep and all that. So all these things, take it with a grain of salt and in a minimal dose. Keep that in mind, video games. How about drawing? I'm not a big artist, but I know people, I have students who will doodle in class. If that's your thing, that kind of helps you relax and kind of helps you refocus, huge fan of drawing. Another one, knitting. I don't knit, but a couple of years ago, I had some students who really got into knitting, and they knit like little beanie caps. One kid knitted me, I'm a runner, so he knit me some fingerless, I don't know what it is, glove, I guess, fingerless gloves, the kind that you can put your hand in so keep your hands warm. So knitting, very calming, very relaxing. Playing music, not listening to, but playing music. Again, anything that gets your brain thinking about things besides school and besides the stresses that come with school every day, I'm a big fan of. Again, I don't play music. I wish, as an adult now, I wish I would have learned as a kid. And I could learn now. I don't know. I just don't. Maybe that's could be my thing. My next thing is learn how to play some music. Playing with your pets is always fun. And again, I'm not talking about just, going out there so they can go to the bathroom. I mean, really playing with them, throwing the ball around, wrestling with them. Again, having fun. The more fun you can put into these activities, I think the less stress that comes along, or the more stress you can remove. Next, put together a puzzle. Puzzles, man, they put you in just a different mindset. And there's something so satisfying about, being able to, even one piece sometimes, that piece you can't find, you just find and you're like, yes, there's something about that satisfaction that comes with it. And putting things together, I think is a nice little metaphor to help you from letting things fall apart. And if you're not doing these little things that help keep it together like a puzzle, oftentimes things start falling apart for us. So you got to find these little things that you can do. Something simple on a weekend, go to a museum or a park or anywhere. Just anywhere that kind of removes you and puts you in a new environment. That's what I'm a huge fan of. Get it yourself so your brain is just escaping where it is and going to a new place. Something as simple as calling your best friend is a great escape. Where you want to find these, I call all these escape routes. Like when things are going bad, what's your escape route that's going to get you back on track? And calling your best friend and talking about all the good old days or what's coming up or that party you're going to, that stuff is a real simple escape route. And then the last one I have here seems very silly, I know, going for a drive. I learned this one when my children were little. They would not sleep very well, so I would take them for a drive. And I guess, I don't know, they'd fall asleep, so that's the benefit of it. But I really enjoy just going out and looking at the scenery, going down some streets I haven't been down before, checking out, parts of town that I haven't visited. It's a super cool way. And again, it's about changing that scenery so things stay fresh for you. Because too often in teaching, we go to school, we teach, we take home work, we're constantly grading, we're checking email, we're talking to our friends and spouses about it. There's no break. You gotta find a way to take those little breaks. And it's great when we do get those breaks tied into our schedule, but you gotta find these little breaks. So that, my friends, were 50 ways for you to find those little strategies that are gonna help you keep your head above water when things are getting rough. Because teaching is hard. It is, and it's even harder this year than it's ever been before. And so you can't just do the same thing you've always been doing. You've got to find little ways that can help you get through those tough days. My name is Mike Roberts. I am the Bald English teacher, and there is all the information for me. You can connect with me on my website at thebaldenglishteacher.com. You can reach out on Twitter at Bald Roberts. You can email me at thebaldenglishteacher. And like I said, all these slides are available. And I have a handout. It's a little one-pager that just lists all these. So you can just keep it right there on your desk and say, today, I'm going to do this. So I gave you 50. My original goal was to give you one per week. But then some of these are some things you can do daily, so I added in a few more there. So hopefully, maybe not all of these hit with you, but hopefully at least a good chunk of them do. And you'll find ways to, like I said, find a little escape, find a little sanity in this crazy world, because we need you. We need you to be, doing your best every single day. And you got to realize your best isn't always going to be your best. Your best for today might not be the best you can ever be. But we got to have you keeping it sharp. And these little things that you do are going to help you keep it sharp, I hope. All right, my friends, thank you very much. If you have any questions about any of this, please, again, don't hesitate to reach out. I appreciate the time that you've given me, and I hope you have a great school year, and I hope some of these things really help you out. Thank you. Bye-bye.